Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Did you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and micro-cap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. I recommend highly that before buying any security, speak to a financial advisor and do your own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with a follow-up to a story that I love because it's an absolute need in my mind. For a lot of different reasons, but Electra Battery Materials on the NASDAQ went public. How long ago did you go uplist to the NASDAQ, Trent?
Well, it's been close to 3 years, I think now, Tim.
Yeah. So real quickly, Trent Mell, CEO and founder, right, of
Correct.
Electr Battery Materials. And Trent, just give, for those that don't know, maybe don't know what Electr Battery Materials is, give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, look, big picture, we're part of the electric vehicle supply chain. And so, we've got minerals in the ground here in North America. We've got electric vehicle plants being built here in North America. And to connect the two, you need to mine it, then you need to refine it. That's where we step in before the material can get put into a chemical form and into the battery. So we are a refiner of cobalt and then eventually nickel and recycled batteries as well. And big picture, we're the offset to the China dominance of that part of the supply chain.
Okay, so let's talk about, you started out the initiative, you had the black mass, which was basically, taking apart, dismantling a battery for all its different materials, right? Recycling them. And you ran that for a year, and the determination was that it's still a little early for that portion of the business.
Yeah. So we've been building out our cobalt refinery post COVID supply chain and inflation. We had to slow the work down, but meanwhile we have an existing plant that we decided to just put in operation. Let's take some black mass and run an industrial size, like a plant scale demonstration of a battery recycling flow sheet. So get somebody to shred the batteries, and we get all this black powder, and we're recovering nickel and lithium, cobalt, manganese, and I think we've proven that it works. But the market here is still small, right? Like the big supply of black mass or recycled batteries is actually battery scrap. So all these plants that are getting built up across America are going to have a lot of waste. And so our role will be to pick that up, process it, and send it right back. But in the meantime, yeah, we're going to continue on the cobalt supply, and we've kind of de-risked our phase 2 growth, which will be battery recycling.
So Trent, remind everybody why it is that you got, why did you start Electra Battery Materials? What was the whole purpose behind it?
Yeah, look, back when we started it was, I looked at cobalt in particular. There were people starting lithium companies, and of course, a lot of established nickel. Nobody was touching cobalt. And cobalt was very concentrated. If you look at, particularly with batteries, 70% of the world's cobalt's coming out of the Congo to the DRC, about 90% of cobalt that goes into batteries. So I thought, wow, let's tackle that piece. And we've got an asset in Idaho, which I think one day gets developed, but those are long-term projects. And meanwhile, on our journey, we bought this refinery in Canada. Now that part of supply chain, so when you mine it, where's all the DRC cobalt going today? It's going to China. And 3/4 of cobalt today is being refined in China. Strategic priority for America to try to onshore that part of the supply chain. And that's when we thought, we can action that faster at a lower cost of capital. So we kind of pivoted away from mining because there's a lot of big players that are doing that. Nobody's doing the refining. And we can do it. We can do it well. We've got the skills, and we're not far on our first plant. And so we work with Canadian and US officials because it is a national priority for both countries. Not just on cobalt, but cobalt, nickel, and other refining to try to onshore where the minerals come. Doesn't matter. Our point is to try to get the processing out of China so that we've got the materials here in this country to put in North American battery plants and in North American electric vehicles.
And I love the sound of that, right? Because if we're going to go to an EV, and I know that people are referencing the fact that we've had a pullback in electric vehicles, and it's still growing. I mean, year over year, the amount of electric vehicles that are being sold is growing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not going away, and it's not just electric vehicles, but how about energy storage, right?
Batteries. Yeah, same batteries. You're right. And how to drive it home? How about batteries for drones or military vehicles and radios? And so it's not just our vehicles. It is, when we talk about our national interest, it's not just getting electric vehicles and Teslas on the road. It's our military capabilities as well, right? As we electrify.
Right. It's a much bigger picture, and the demand for the materials is not going to go away, right? I mean, it's just going to increase. So we could be reliant upon China, who controls 90% of the materials that go into the batteries. I think we may be able to look at history and realize that being dependent on a foreign entity that doesn't like us very much for our energy needs is not a very good idea.
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember that. Yeah. They're allies today, but the OPEC crisis was real, right? And it killed Western economies for years and years. Look, we got a taste of that in COVID too, right? The onshoring, I think what we're trying to do in our corner of the world with electrification and rare earths and battery materials, we got a little bit of taste of that during COVID. And holy smokes, what can we supply to Americans in masks and medicines and all these other supplies? And I think it really reinforced what we were already working on, that we need a certain degree of self-reliance in a polarized world. And if we don't bring back manufacturing jobs here on the continent, we're beholden to people that may not have our best interests at heart.
Amen. So you had a rough road because it's raising money, especially in this environment for small micro cap companies is painful, right, to say the least. And you have to be extremely cautious. That's part of the issue with any small and micro cap right now is if you even have a hint of needing to raise capital, no one's going near you because they don't know how toxic of a deal you're going to take, right?
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. But you just got the notification from the NASDAQ for the extension, right? 180 days. And I asked you before we hopped on, any plans to do a reverse split? And your response was no. You're working on, and you have been working on diligently for the last 4 or 5 months of the solution that you feel as though you can make happen. That would be not toxically dilutive.
Yeah, I think, and as I mentioned to you before the call as well, we're not in a free market economy for this sector, right? We're competing against China. And so why is lithium and nickel and cobalt, why are all the commodities in the dumps? And there's a lot of reasons, but part of that is an oversupply by China, right? We've got all this money under the Inflation Reduction Act that's trying to build out our supply chain. And then you've got all this extra surplus capacity being built in mainland China, and they're playing a long ball, right? They're trying to drive all the startups out of business to thwart the opportunity of moving that supply chain from Asia over to the Western world, over to Europe and North America. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I think there's ample evidence there of mines that are producing at a loss, nickel mines and lithium mines and whatnot. And so you got those kind of headwinds. You've got just the realities of a market that hasn't broadened out, right, for small caps like us. And so it's been survival mode for a lot of these pre-revenue companies, including us. But we've got the good fortune of a plan that's coming together. And I've been fairly, I guess, as transparent as it could be, can be, with my confidence, right, that we are working on something. We've got a solution that's going to be, I think, largely non-dilutive, and it's going to be comprised of government and industry support. And this is that sort of non-free market world that we're in. If you want to build the supply chain against China, where a cost of capital is next to zero, you need to do things a little differently. Whether your politics lean to the left or to the right, we're just in a weird era of industrialization and building out of a supply chain. It's not unlike the battles that we were talking about microchips. And when Japan was building out their supply chain in the 1980s, they had ultra low inflation, low cost of capital, and companies in the US and the West Coast were paying 18%. Japan, you were paying 6%. And when you're building these billion-dollar plants, it's hard to weather that kind of a lift. And so that's where we are today for Electra. Operating basis, I think we compete with China on an operating basis, but cost of capital, we need the help, and that's what I think we're getting pretty close to doing. And it'll be a huge lift to our investor base, and it will get us back above that $1 mark, I'm convinced.
So look, I started out in investing years and years ago for myself to make money, right? I mean, that was how I got started. And then as I have progressed along through my journey, I was like, I want to help other people learn how to invest wisely, right? Teach them how to invest. And as I'm getting older, farther along in my journey, and we go through a cycle like we're going through now, what has become very, very important to me, what the most important thing, I think, of all of it is finding companies that are going to make an impact on humanity in a positive way. That's really ultimately, that's the biggest thing you can do. Because if you can help a company survive and not just survive, but become a big player, how many lives do you impact? How many people get hired, right, for new jobs? I mean, investors, yes, you can make money if you invest wisely. But ultimately, the really important thing to me is helping these, because there are a lot of fantastic small and micro cap companies that literally have products or services that can make the world a better, safer place. Right? Better, safer place for everyone. So that's when you start to look at it and say, man, this is why you invest. You invest because you want to help make that impact, right? There is a thing called impact investing.
Right.
Very narrow in its focus. I think it's bigger than just environmental ESG. ESG is great. That's wonderful. But when people have products or services that could literally save people's lives because you change the way we do things, right? I think that's huge. I mean, And this company here, to me, is an impact play. If this company doesn't survive, right, what happens? It puts us, the entire North America, behind the 8 ball,
It
right?
does. It brings you back. Thank you. Appreciate that because, one of the things that I see quite clearly is if we're going to connect future mining operations, which we also need here in the continent, to future battery plants, you need that. There's that piece in between the sandwich here. We're kind of the peanut butter and the bread, where you need to go from the mine to our refinery, and then to a cathode plant, and then to the battery plant. And it's not inexpensive. It's probably the cheapest part of the supply chain to build out because you're talking in the hundreds of millions instead of the billions. But absent that, it doesn't work, right? We don't need to build mines. We're just going to import all this material from Asia, China, Japan, Korea, and we'll just assemble the batteries here. And it doesn't deliver on the goal of sort of self-sufficiency and enhancing our security, nor does it really advance the environmental agenda. If you're going to be buying stuff out of China and Indonesia, your carbon footprint's massive, right? You might as well just drive combustion engines.
Exactly. I mean, so there are a lot of positives, right? There is an ESG element to Electr Battery Materials, right?
We will have, I'm pretty sure about this, we'll measure it. I think we'll have the lowest carbon footprint in the world of any cobalt operation, period. And that's something to be proud of, hang your hat on.
And that's something to back. That's something to support, right? If the environment is important to you, right, then that is something you want to get behind, right? Yeah. Instead of buying $1,000 pair of Nikes that you don't need, go buy stock in a company that you believe in that is going to have an impact on the things that you care about. I mean, that's pretty simple, right? And at the current stock price level, which I think is way overdone to the downside, I think your opportunity for reward is much higher than the risk.
Look, most of our peers, if I look at people like startups, Jervois or Life Cycle's going through their issues, and some of the lithium plays, most of these companies that are sort of pre-revenue construction are off 70, 80, 90% over their 12-month highs. It's astounding. Part of that is that market sentiment, that broader market sentiment. Partly is also just trying to figure out who, as the market gets tougher and yields have gone up and funding is tough, who are the winners, right? And if somebody who's off 85% can suddenly demonstrate a path to cash flow, then I think you got a really good opportunity for some pretty impressive returns.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, and it's not just this industry; it's a lot of industries. There are a lot of companies out there that I think are grossly undervalued, underappreciated, and I really think that people are missing the point on a lot of these companies. They can make the world a better, safer place. They can do good things for the environment, and if they go away, that just puts us farther back from achieving those goals, right? So those are the things that matter. That's why people need to understand what they own, right? Apple right now, hey, if you own Apple, I'm happy for you. But look at the stock and ask yourself, $3 trillion valuation, where's it going? Is it going from 3 to 6? That's just a double, right? If you don't think it's going from 3 to 6, and if you do think it's going from 3 to 6, please email me and tell me why, because I need to know. If they're going to cure cancer, maybe that could happen. But if they're not, and you have a nice gain there, what would be bad about selling off some of that Apple and picking up a stock like this one here, where I think your risk reward is much greater, or less of a risk reward scenario, and a potential for a heck of a lot of reward if you are patient, right?
Yeah, if we're trading, we're probably trading maybe 1x EBITDA, right? So what's the multiple on a chemical refining operation through time? It could be anywhere from 5 to 7. In the heyday, lithium was kind of 12, 15 times. And so I don't know. I mean, we got to de-risk it and build it and operate it, but it does, to me, show a path to some value creation if the team and I can execute on what we presented, right? With some non-dilutive funding, path to production, and delivering on what we say. And yeah, I think we can make a lot of people happy, but we've got to prove it now. The market is looking for that proof before it'll give us credit.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, you are not planning on giving up, are you, Trent?
Nope. Look, it's last year was bloody hard. Crosses the mind sometimes, but no, I mean, look, building a company, let's not forget, Elon Musk almost went bankrupt. Remember that Christmas Eve miracle in, I don't remember what year it was, 2017 or something, where he got that loan on Christmas Eve to keep them afloat. And so, look, we're no Tesla, but building businesses has its ebbs and flows, and we went through a pretty tough year last year. I'm feeling a lot better about the time ahead. I've got a great team, and I'm really looking forward to finishing this plant, getting to production, and articulating a broader vision that'll include nickel refining as well as battery recycling.
It's funny that you bring up Elon Musk. I mean, because he was a guy that literally, I used to think poorly of Elon because I was uneducated about him. And then I started doing a whole lot of reading and listening to specials on him, and realized this guy is an amazing human being. I mean, he has done things for humanity that single-handedly has done that I think has had more of an impact than anyone ever in history, right? And I look at him, I watched one show where he literally, when he went, I think it was when he went to buy the Russian rocket, which is crazy in itself, but he goes by and literally said, if the thing blows up, this is after 3 failed attempts, right? If it blows up, it's all over. It's all over for Tesla, and it's all over for SpaceX. Done, right? Thank God it didn't blow up.
Yeah.
It went, right? But the guy was willing to risk it all and lose everything, right?
Over and over again, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. Look, he's polarizing because he's got his quirks. I think a lot of brilliant people do. And so I don't agree with all of his views and opinions, but you can't deny the impact he's had on the world. In so many
And then it was funny because I watched the CEO from NVIDIA the other days talking about, if you're going to go after something really hard. Do the things that are really, really hard, because that in itself will keep competitors, from even getting started, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he said, it's those that can suffer the longest that ultimately will become the most successful.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's true. Very true.
True statement. I mean, very true statement. You're going through the suffering right now.
Yep.
But
hopefully we're on the last chapter of the suffering here, and there'll be I can see the light here through what's been a dark tunnel.
Right. And that to me speaks volumes on a lot of things, right? So you turn this thing around. What does that say about Trent Mell? What does that say about the team at Electr Battery Materials, right? This is a company that's fighting to stay in there. It's a very good reason as to why it's fighting. More people just need to know about it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to get out there. And I think we've been inwardly focused by necessity of late, but hopefully we can turn that around and start trumpeting our story a little bit more. And that's we're already planning for that new dawn here to my team, both remobilizing the team, contractors, messaging, our comms plan. So there's lots of work to be done once we get through this last chapter, as I said.
All right, Trent. Listen, you feel as though I missed anything that we should be highlighting?
Well, no, I think it's a bit of a toggle, right? I think if I'm one of your listeners, it's okay, Trent, show me the money, right? Because that's the toggle. You either get it or you don't. And I think we will. I'm confident we will. But until that happens, once that happens, I will be perhaps a little bit more boastful is the wrong idea, but a little bit more descriptive of kind of the longer term vision. It's a lot we can do and should do, but I got to get job one here done and get this first plant built before we can talk about our other plans. We've got a lot of conversations going on, government and industry and car companies, but none of that matters yet, right? I got to get this first piece.
There's got to be a lot of people within the industry, I would think, that recognize how important this is, right?
Yes.
And they've got the dough to step up. It's just coming to an agreement.
Yeah.
I would think this is what's going through my head, right? There are too
Yeah.
many huge players that would benefit from having this in place,
Yes.
right?
And I'll say, more so than Canada and Australia and the UK, like, Washington gets it. And I guess that makes sense, right? That's the superpower we're all working with. But when I talk to US officials, like our role in this industry is crystal clear. Don't need to explain it to them, don't need to explain China and why we need refining and why here. And so I mean, future growth to me, America would kind of make a lot of sense. But I got to say, engaging with the folks in DC has been a real pleasure because their vision here, their mission in
That
life
is
is
somewhat
very clear.
surprising to me. I have to tell you, that is a little surprising to me.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. That's why I threw it out there. I knew it would be a surprise to a lot of folks. But look, there's because we're so intermingled with geopolitics, right? That's why the folks in DC get it, because the allies follow America's lead, or they should. And since that's where the tone is being set, when we are in town, people nod like, yeah, we get it.
That's awesome.
Godspeed. Yeah.
That's actually very encouraging to hear. I mean, I would have never expected that, but it's encouraging to hear. All right, Trent, look, when you have a catalyst or something else, we'll do this again, right? We'll give everybody an update when things are a little more clear.
Okay, I would love that. I appreciate
Like
the time talking to you.
Okay, Trent.
All right, sir.
All right, thanks, man. I'm gonna shut this off. Hold on one second.
Sure.
I want to talk to you about something, but we'll have you back soon.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we have Electra Battery Materials CEO Trent Mell, ticker symbol ELBM. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, give us a like. How about giving us a share? All of those things are very important to us here at Alpha Wolf Trading, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.